The Great Missouri Train Robbery, Gads Hill, Missouri, 1874. By 1874, America was becoming a modern and civilized country, or so you'd think. But west of the Mississippi, things were far more lawless, and the gun still ruled. States like Kansas, Nevada, and Texas were still very much wild frontiers. Crimes such as gunfights, cattle rustling, and stealing horses were rife, but perhaps the most serious was robbery. At first, it was robbing stagecoaches and lone travelers, but as infrastructure slowly moved westwards, banks and wagon shipments became targets. Then there was a complete game changer. When the James Younger Gang, which included the famed outlaw Jesse James, committed on July 21, 1873, what is considered to be one of the very first train robberies in American history. The gang had derailed a locomotive near Adair, Iowa, in doing so causing the death of the engineer. They then stole around $3,000, over $63,000 in today's value, from the train's safe and the passengers on board. 6 months later, at around 3 p.m. on a bitterly cold Friday afternoon on January 31, 1874, the James Younger Gang, armed with Colt Navy revolvers and double-barreled shotguns, carried out another daring train robbery, the first ever in Missouri. The gang consisted of Frank and Jesse James, Arthur McCoy, and two of the Younger brothers. In broad daylight, the gang, wearing masks, rode into the small community of Gads Hill in the wilderness of southeastern Missouri. The settlement, which had only been founded 2 years before, had a total population of 15 and had been named after Charles Dickens' country house in England. The small population were too afraid to resist the fearsome-looking gang. The settlement consisted of 3 houses and a small store and post office. The reason for the gang's interest in Gads Hill was its small railroad platform that ran alongside it. The track was the St. Louis, Missouri to Texarkana, Arkansas Railway line, and due later that day at 4 p.m. was the St. Louis, Iron Mountain, and Southern southbound train. It was carrying a mixture of passengers and cargo, including a safe. Now, trains did not normally stop at the Gads Hill station, but did slow down significantly as they passed by, having just climbed a steep gradient to get there. Probably unknown to the gang was that it was going to stop there that day in order for State Representative L.M. Farris to meet up with his son there. The gang got the settlers to help build a large bonfire by the side of the track. When the train approached at 4:45 p.m., the gang lit the bonfire, while another one of them stood on the platform waving a red flag, which was the railway universal signal for danger ahead. As the train came to a stop, the gang overpowered the conductor and captured the engineer and his crew. The gang split into 2, and one group went to the baggage cart and forced the shipping agent to open the train's safe, and then they went through the registered delivery parcel. It was said that one of the gang insisted the agent update his inventory log to say, "Robbed at Gads Hill." The rest of the gang was going through the passenger carriage robbing the passengers, but they were very selective, refusing to rob the women or men who were poor working class. They even went so far as to check men's hands to see if they were rough and callous or not, to see if they did good, honest labor. One of the passengers stood up and protested, a James H. Morley, a chief engineer. But when one of the gang placed a revolver under his nose and told him, "Sit down, shut your head, and mind your business," he duly did so, and there was no more trouble from the passengers. It was later reported in the newspapers, who heavily glamorized and sensationalized the whole episode. They went as far as to say that as the gang got off the train, one of them quoted a few lines of William Shakespeare, then handed the conductor a pre-written press release that ended with the words, "There's a hell of an excitement in this part of the country." Then they shook the engineer's hand and then left. The exact amount the gang was said to have gotten away with varied wildly as the newspapers exaggerated the James Younger Gang's exploits in order to sell more newspapers. The amount stolen was most likely around $5,000, just under $100,000 in today's value, as well as some parcels, assorted jewelry, a gold watch, 5 pistols, 1 ring, and a diamond stick pin. And despite a large posse being sent after them, they got away to continue on their lives of crime for a while longer. Subscribe and click the notification bell for more history videos.